Okay, good morning, good day, Israel. Eretz HaKodesh. 26 Adar, here we are, Adar. Okay, Hayom Yom. With three instruments of service: Ahavas Hashem, love of God; Ahavas HaTorah; and Ahavas Yisrael. Three kinds of love, three prongs of love. With those three prongs of love, or what he calls Keli Shores. Keli Shores are the vessels that were used in the temple, right? That you minister with, that you serve with. So these are our vessels. Love of God, love of Torah, and love of Israel. So with these three instruments, must young Torah scholars approach their work, that's us, in the vineyard of the Lord of hosts. Now, in the vineyard, right? Vineyard is a vineyard. Why vineyard? Why not garden? Why not something? So, the mashal of the grape. The grape contains a hidden secret, right? It says, "Kisheniknas yayin yotze sod." When wine comes in, secrets come out. So the grape is all concealing something very deep. So our job is to get that secret out into the open, right? And getting that secret out in the open is, as he says here, is to bring the hearts of our brothers and sisters, our brothers, closer to observing practical mitzvahs and to designing regular time for Torah study. They must do this without paying any attention to the affliction of factions. In other words, whatever arguments are going on in the various camps of Yiddishkeit about this and that, forget about all that. Just immerse oneself in practical mitzvahs, learning Torah, learning these. Yeah, that's the order he says in mitzvahs and Torah. And do this without paying attention to any of the distractions of different points of view about what should be done or what shouldn't be done, or whose hechsher is better than the other hechsher. The absolute truth is that the heart of a Jew is a wellspring. Another mashal, wellspring. Wellspring is a revelation of waters that are hidden very deep. So both the grape and the wellspring have this quality, right, of bringing forth something that's very deep through some kind of effort, some kind of trampling the grapes or digging the hole. And digging the hole, and the work we have to do is through Torah, Oisik b'Torah, and Oisik b'Mitzvahs, which of course is the theme of the section of the Tanya that we're in. So bring the well springs up from the source of living waters, and we are assured by a covenant, by a bris that Hashem has made with us, that labor, working, and wide-ranging effort shall never be fruitless. Do it, and you'll see the results. And even if you don't see the results will be forthcoming. That's Hayom Yom, and it will tie right in with today's Tanya. On page 498 in this little book, Lessons in Tanya. Top of page 498. And in the classical Tanya, page, Where did I see it? What do we say? 26, right? Yeah, here it is. 26 page, Memches. Almost 5 lines up from the bottom of the page. So we're discussing the purpose of the soul's descent into this world. This is a topic, and that we started in chapter Lamed Hey in 35. Before that, we were largely dealing with advice for meditations, contemplations, mental exercises, positioning oneself in order to not get deluded and obscured by the seemingly negative factors in this world, and to see through them, and to many different advices for how to deal with that in order to remove the darkness of the Nefesh Bahamis and the Yetzer Hara, and reveal and inflame the Nefesh Elokis. From chapter 35 and still on, we're talking about the particular practice which was observed, which we talked about here, the observance of Torah and mitzvahs. And what Torah and observance of Torah and mitzvahs, what's that all about in terms of revealing the godly soul and ultimately rectifying the world. So we spoke about Friday and Shabbos, that all of us are singular instantiations of a much greater whole, which is the 600,000 root souls. And the Alter Rebbe is explaining how through the observance and practice of Torah and mitzvahs, we will be able to fulfill what he enunciated at the very beginning of Tanya as one of the purposes of Tanya, to explain to us how, as the pasuk says, "Korav elecha medavar me'od," how close it is to you to be able to, in your heart, in your mouth and in your heart and in your deed, to bring about the rectification of the world, the Gilui Mashiach Tzidkenu, and the resurrection of the dead. There's two stages that we're entering into in the near future. That will be revealed in the near future. So he's emphasizing here, to do it. Now, what's the doing? The doing is Isaac Torah, occupation in Torah, and mitzvahs. So to continue that topic, here we are on page Mem Ches. Ella, however, Shishim Riba Neshamas Proteus, the 600,000 specific souls. Remember, we spoke about the root soul evolving into 600,000, 600,000 devolving into 600,000 more. So the work of this, the descent of each of those sparks to this world, even though it's a great descent, and think about this, he's created this soul, first of all, and all of this instantiations in the multiples of 600,000. And he has held it, commanded it, and brought about its descent into this darkest of all worlds, which is called Gullus. He's put himself in exile, as it's called, Gullus HaShekhinah. The Shekhinah is in exile. Because even if a person is a complete tzaddik, remember, a complete tzaddik al pitanya is one who has slain or totally transformed any sense of negativity into positivity. But nevertheless, even if that person is a tzaddik gomer, who's oived Hashem b'yira ve'ava rabba b'tainugim, who serves love with awe, fear, love of delights, in other words, completely eradicated the ego, the ego that's in the way, the selfishness that's in the way and captivates one and separates one from godliness. So even if one is that stature of person, that level of person, that person, since he's in this world, or he or she, that person is in this world, is not able to reach and elevate into a complete devekus, a complete clinging to Hashem, as complete, he can't elevate himself or herself to such a complete clinging to Hashem as it was before that soul came down to this world, right? Before the soul came down to the world, it was lodged even higher than the world of Atzilus, in a place where there was no concealment whatsoever. And to come down here and do the work here, down here below, one cannot realize that state of Achdus that was realized before. So this is starting to put perhaps a question in our minds. So what's the point, right? He can't reach the state of Devekus that was there before he came down to this coarse world. Not in kind and not at all. There's no comparison between them. The state that the soul has before it's coming down to this world and the state that it has when it's down in this world at all. Kaneda, the kol maskil, as is known to anyone who has learned what we have been learning, anyone who understands. Why is that? Simply because while you're in a body, at least in the present time. While you're in a body, you can't tolerate that sense of unity, because if you were living in that sense of unity, you wouldn't exist in a body. And Hashem wants a dirulei bora b'tachtonim. He wants a blessing, a place for himself in the lower worlds, which the lower worlds, by definition, are encumbered by, at least initially encumbered by, but certainly encased in physicality. Ella, so what's the point? Ella, however, its descent, the descent of the soul, the olam hazeh, to this world, lehislabish beguf and nefesh achiyus, to be enclosed in a body and an enlivening soul, is kedei lesaknum, in order to fix them, bilvad, just to rectify the nefesh achiyus, the animal soul, the klippas, rectify the klippas. That's the whole point of coming down into this world. V'hafrida mehara, and to separate them from the evil shel sholosh klippas atameas, of the three unclean klippas, al yidei shmira shesar loisase, by keeping the 365 negative commandments, the anfehim, and their branches. That's number one. We spoke about the 365 negative are corresponding to the blood vessels, which the blood vessels channel the force of life, the life force. They prevent the life force from leaking out into places that it shouldn't go. That's the 365 negative. And the 248 positive, lahalas nefesh achiyonus, and to elevate the enlivening soul, gam chelka hashayach lo, and also the portion of the world that you're put into, to elevate that, the portion of the world, of the whole generality of the possible spaces in this world, the space that you're in, and to unite them into the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, which you draw down to them, that is to the Nefesh Elokis and Nefesh Bahamas and Nefesh Achiyunis and the Klippas, by doing the 248 positive mitzvahs, b'nafshi achiyunis, with your enlivening soul. Shehi, because it's the enlivening soul, and we've talked about this. We got before this, in the last portions of of this chapter, and even before that, it's the nefesh achiyunis, the enlivening soul. Shehi makayim kol mitzvahs ma'asos, which does the physical mitzvahs, and most of the mitzvahs are physical. And just the side thought, it's important to think about this, to remember this section of Tanya that we're in this from the perspective of how much value there's being put on the nefesh achiyunis, the enlivening soul, the nefesh abehamis, right, and the body. The body is the chariot, is the vehicle. Why I'm saying this, because in the earlier part of Tanya, we had a lot of language about despising the body, subjugating the body, etc. And I pointed out over there how taking that alone is losing the context entirely, and has created a lot of damage in the world of people who learn Tanya and are raised to think that the body is a negative. The body is potentially and is designed to be the chariot for flying up the mitzvahs and elevating all the portions of the world. So that's just I'm advising, I guess, myself to keep that in mind when you see the language, when you read Tanya again, you talk about the negative words about the body. That's the body as its natural tendency is to be drawn down away from Kedusha. But the Nefesh Achiyunis, and this is a key thing, which is not here on the page, the Nefesh Achiyunis is actually sourced higher and deeper than the Nefesh Elokis. The Nefesh Achiyunis is sourced in the world of Toihu, which precedes, meaning it's much deeper in God's consciousness than Olam HaTikun, which is the world that we live in, which is the source of the Nefesh Elokis. So this begins to answer the question that may be on people's minds. We've just said the whole purpose of this Yerida is to fix what's down here below. Well, why break it in the first place, right? Why do we have to come into a broken space in order to fix it? Well, the answer is, although it's not 100% satisfying, at least to me, is that we're at what are this there's an expression from Kabbalah. It says kalkalte zetikante. Kalkalte, its damage is its rectification. Only because something is damaged can be rectified. If it's not damaged, there's no need for a rectification. And rectification brings out a deeper light than had it not needed rectification in the first place. This translates into the expression we've come up with many times, the mila, the advantage of transforming darkness into light, that there's a greater light, a greater power, a greater emanation, and ultimately a greater rectification by rectifying the darkness than there is in the light that occurred before the darkness. So this is all about rectifying the sparks of Tohu, raising up the sparks of Tohu from their brokenness, right, the broken kalim that fell down from the world of Tohu, and bringing them back upstairs together in a level higher than the creation of the world as we know it, that's described in Sefer Bereshis. I mean, it's one of the things that's hinted at in Bereshis. One of the interpretations of the word Bereshis is two. Bez is two heads. There are two heads. There was Olam HaTohu and there's Olam HaTikun. So the point being that through actions on the physical, where the physical contains those sparks of Tohu, is there and only there that we can rectify the world and bring it to the state of wholeness that Hashem has envisioned in the first place. And that's through kol ma'asos mitzvahs, through all the deeds of mitzvahs, as we said above, back in the Tanya. And it's written in Eitz Chaim Shar Vav. Ki hanashama atzma, the neshama, the godly soul, ein tzaricha tikkun. It doesn't need any rectification, any fixing klal at all. And it has no need to come into this world except for the godly purpose that it has been designed to do, which is what? Or to draw down light, the to fix the broken pieces, the shards that fell from Olam HaTohu, to take the world of separation and bring it back into a state of unity. But that state of unity is higher than the state of unity that existed in the first place. And this that we have just said, and I've, yes, added a lot of words here, but this that we're speaking about is mamish, the secret of the Galus HaShekhinah. The Shekhinah goes into exile in order to come back to a state of reality that's deeper than the Shekhinah had in the first place. And we do that by Levada Netzoisim, by rectifying, bringing together all the broken pieces of ourselves and creating an integration and a wholeness within ourselves and bringing that out into the world and rectifying the world. And that's today's time. All about tikkun, fixing. Any comments?
I have a question. I'm sorry that I missed, but this nefesh hayunis is a new term to me. Can you, maybe it came up earlier?
Yeah, sure.
But
yeah, we've come up a lot.
Please.
It's come up a lot. Nefesh hayunis is the enlivening soul. It's the animal soul. It's the soul that animates us. That's where we get the word animal, right? Animation. The soul that enlivens the body is the nefesh hayunis. And that's what I mean. So we've come up, we see everywhere a lot of negative terms about the nefesh hayunis, or the nefesh habahamis with its yetzer, but it's all
nefesh habahamis. Is it the same thing?
Same thing. Yep. Nefesh habahamis, nefesh hayunis, same thing. Viva, what? Yeah, go ahead. Aviva.
All right. So could you please explain, if you can, the Rebbe told us very many years ago, early on, that,
all the revernim have been done.
So please, yes.
I'm laughing because I've never really come across a good explanation. Maybe someone has, and I've discussed this with some of the luminaries that are out there in the world, have had millions of followers, and so I'm not going to give you a very satisfying answer. But I have learned myself in Sichos that the Rebbe had made a distinction between the rectifications that have been done in ourselves through the thousands of years of learning Torah, which of course do naturally have also a rectifying effect on the world. But if you look around and you see that the world is still in a pretty broken state, right? Even perhaps apparently, at least, more broken than it was before. But we have we have the history and the ability of rectifying that through the birurim that we have done on ourselves. Now, this is, through, not everyone has done these birurim, right? But all the birurim have been done it means to say that everything is here. Everything, all the clarifications are clear, but we need to bring that out to the world. That's the way I understand it. And I could be wrong, but that's what, in other words, with all the rectifications are here and clear in front of our eyes. We don't have to search anymore. They're here. Our community of Klal Yisrael has paid a lot of pain, to go through rectifications of our bodies and our souls, et cetera, et cetera. And the Rebbe said, that's over. Now the job is to open our eyes and see the rectification possibility and actually bring it about. That's how I understand it. Now, I could be wrong. Rivka has a hand up.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
I think this is a segue from what Aviva asked, but and that it's the importance of practical mitzvahs, I think, and the eternity and that's the real purpose of the whole creation is part of the explanation about why it's not just about brokenness. It's also about improvement. Whatever is already done is improvement, because there's a discussion about the tshuva of a tzaddik. I mean, not that it applies to us, but it gives us the concept that there's always room, there's always more to do. And that what we're doing is not just fixing bad stuff, but it's the one slogan, I don't know, slogan or whatever, you want to call it, phrase, Piskam, is Yerida Tzarik Aliyah. I mean, that always applies, that no matter how much we've already done, there's always more.
Yes. Let me just add to that. There's two in the notion of aliyahs. The aliyahs elevations are infinite, and that's what we said before. Even a Tzaddik Gomer, who's completely mastered the negativity, so that there's no negativity whatsoever. All of mastering the negativity to the point that there's no negativity, and you're a Tzaddik Gomer, is what's called avodas habirurim. You've completely, back to Aviva's point, question. That's a bit, and then the next step. Now that you're in Kedusha, 100%, imagine a world that's 100% operating according to Torah, right? Well, there are elevations in that, because that is infinite. So the Tzaddik Gomer, or the world in its completely rectified state, is not finished, because wherever you're holding here in Kedusha, there are infinite levels higher in Kedusha, and Aliyah. So there's two kinds of Aliyah. One is Lebara Birurim, to rectify rectifications, and the other, which I've just been talking about, is called Liyachad Yehudim, to create deeper and deeper levels of unity in the rectified state. Yehudis.
Right. So we don't have to worry that our job is done, or that we're going to finish.
First of all, we're not worried at all, because we have a job to do, and that job goes on infinitely, and we'll let God take care of the rest.
Yeah. And it's the whole purpose of why did Hashem need any physicality at all?
Right. Nevertheless, it still bothers me in my own brain that I don't really feel that I've really had yet a good explanation of. I mean, I asked Simon Jacobson once, and he kind of backed off from it. It's like, he told me when I was talking to Simon a few months ago, and he said when he was one of the chayzrim of the Rebbe, and they first heard the Rebbe say this. Imagine a group of people, Yol Khan, a blessed memory, and others, and they heard the Rebbe say this. They each looked at each other like, what? What is he saying? And he couldn't give me, well, it was in we're walking in the street. It wasn't a long time, but it was the same kind of yeah, I get it, but I don't get it. So I don't get it.
Okay.
Could you
Okay.
repeat,
His thoughts
the
and then our
quote,
thoughts.
please, of the Rebbe?
Well, first of all, Yehuda says her hand up. So hands up, go first. Go ahead.
Thank you. Of course, Aviva's question provoked many more questions and thoughts.
Right.
But the first question that I had was just kind of a practical question. So are you saying that our animal soul and every material thing in this world comes from Olam Hatohu?
Yes.
Every material thing. So everything that is in our material world needs fixing or elevating or
elevation. Yes.
It needs somehow like to be utilized in a way that elevates whatever sparks are stuck or caught in it.
Yes, and elevation, let's just translate elevation, to reveal it. It used to be utilized in a manner to reveal the place, the source from whence it came, which is the world deeper in God's consciousness than the world, the created world that we know.
Okay.
And that goes back to Hayom, the grape, the vineyard. That here's the grape, right? We're going to elevate it. How? When we squeeze the grape and they get wine and make a brook on that wine, first of all, we've shown, step one, there's something in the grape that you didn't see before. And number two, this thing that's in the grape has a power of intoxication, but we'll use this word positively, like adila yoda by Purim, to intoxicate, to bring one to a higher state. And that's just the grape. So the grape is symbolic of, yes, everything in the world.
Everything. So, and that's what the animal soul and the body is to enable the godly soul to do its work, to do that elevation.
Exactly. That's what he said he said on the page today.
Right.
The whole purpose of the body and the mitzvahs associated with his body is lahalis nefesh ha'chiyunis, to lift up the animal soul with all the parts of the world that are shy to it into the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu.
Wow. Okay. It just makes you look at everything in your surroundings a little differently. Like, wow, this is everything is an opportunity. The table you're sitting at, the chair you're sitting on, the fork you're using to eat with, every single thing that is in your immediate surroundings is an opportunity to do that fixing, to do that tikkun, to do that elevating.
Lachain, there's the Bachain Lachain for today. Absolutely everything. And of course, some of the elevations, let's not get carried away here, are the elevation that's caused by not doing anything with it, right?
Yeah.
The negative. Okay, Tamar. Tamar?
Call me Timmy.
Timmy?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call you Timmy.
Everyone calls me Timmy. So I love what you and Yehudas Chana were just saying. I love it so much. But how do you elevate something like nail polish?
By beautifying, well, do you remember the Rashi in last week's Parsha about the adornments of the women that were given to the temple?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, maybe it's escaping me whether it really was a Rashi or not, or whether I read it somewhere else. Maybe someone can help me with this. Moses did not want to accept them because they were connected with, acts that it should be done in private, and there's a Yetzer Hora that can get attached to that with that nail polish.
Right.
And God said no. These are the things that I most find dear. Remember the women who put on nail polish so that the men would have relationships with them in Egypt, which gave us the tribes. Not the tribes, gave us the population that went out of Egypt to serve God. So nail polish can also be used.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think a lot about nail polish because I run a mikveh. And so think about it. So this is another way to think about it.
Sure. A positive way of beautification that leads to procreation, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
Okay. Menucha. Are you up again?
Yeah.
Menucha, your
What
hand is up.
Judith Hannah said was amazingly inspiring and perceptive. That was gorgeous. And I don't know, initially, when you talked about everything needing elevation, I was thinking of things that seemed very beautiful and incredible in their own, like I don't know, an orchid, a rose, something like that. But then you mentioned that sometimes the thing is to do nothing. So I guess with those things.
That's the 365 negative. The 365 negative, remember, if you haven't learned it, because we did this before Shabbos, the 365 negative are associated with the blood vessels. And the blood vessels are the way things have to get channeled so they don't leak out into the negative forces. You have to channel them. And you channel them, that's a gevura, right? Channeling and making sure everything is going. So, and that's the negativity of making sure I don't touch anything that I'm not supposed to touch. Because these are the Gimel Klippas of Tameas, those things. And those are going to be rectified in the future when Maver Ruach Atuma from the Oretz, when the whole spirit of uncleanliness is erased. And that's why I have trouble with this Birurim, because the spirit of uncleanliness, we're not at that stage where the spirit of uncleanliness has departed from the earth. In fact, we see it all over. So maybe if Simon Jacobson, he listens to this, Tanya Shear, maybe he sees it, maybe he'll say, wait a minute, I really do, let me explain it to you. And if anyone comes up with, really a nice straightforward explanation, I would love to hear it. But yeah, staying away.
What is the Rebbe's quote that this issue is around? What is it exactly?
Well, it starts with the Gemara, by the way, Kolu Kol Akitzim. The Gemara says that all appointed times for the coming of Mashiach have ended, right? Then you have a history that all the Birurim, Kol HaBirurim, all the rectifications that are necessary have been done, which, by the way, didn't start with the Rebbe either. It started at least, maybe even farther back, but from the Frierdiker Rebbe, who used the expression, not only has everything been done, but he likened it to, if you're dressing yourself up, and here's your nail polish, you're dressing yourself up, he said, all the buttons have been polished, meaning that even the smallest details of dressing right, looking, and doing what's right have been done. All the buttons have been polished. And then the Rebbe, his famous expression was that all the birurim, all the rectifications had been done. So I just said, I don't get it, except from the perspective that I explained, which is that all of the stuff we're doing, Panemius Torah, Hasidus, is there, right? And to the extent that one eats it, ingests it, one has the ability to actualize the rectifications. We don't need anything more. We don't need another shlav, another trench of revelation. It's already here. But beyond that, I don't know. Shulamit. Shulamit, you there? Your hand is up. Okay. Anybody else? All right. I think Yehuda Sana summed it up for us.
Wait a minute. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay,
yes,
good. I just would like to make a comment to Timmy about the nail polish, something that I think is pretty amazing from the Frierdiker Rebbe in 1930, when he made an incredible famous trip to America in different cities. And one of the cities that he went to was Chicago. And there, the community there was during the Depression, they were really suffering with the mikveh was in very bad condition. And the women who were in charge of the mikveh wanted his support. So anyway, it's a long story. I'm not going to go into that now. But the point that I wanted to say is he had a meeting with the the balanit of the mikveh and some of the women there. And he told the balanit that when the women come to the mikveh, that she should tell them to make sure that they should take off all of their makeup and their nail polish, because that it wouldn't be a chalitza to toivel in the mikveh. And he said to make sure that she should tell them that when they come out after toiveling, they should make sure to reapply all of their makeup and their nail polish, because Jewish women need to look good. And that's coming from a Hasidic rabbi in Russia.
Wow.
Beautiful.
An American community.
Beautiful, beautiful,
So
beautiful.
I just had to share that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna.
And so, yeah,
That
he was
is
really into nail polish.
fantastic. I've never heard that before.
Right.
Beautiful.
Okay. Masal Tovot, Shavua Tov. Thank you so
Shavua
much.
Tov.
Amazing class.
Okay, take care.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.